Hello, question from new. Is there a space while you're involved on the Industry 4.0 transformation where you involve direct operators into this journey? Yep, and it starts on day one. Can you please share some recommendations where to start? All right. So this goes to the digital transformation maturity assessment concept, okay, that we teach in Mastermind, or really in Mastermind, but we talk about it in mentorship, and you guys hear me talk about it in our YouTube content, okay? Yeah, Tim Ryder, I'm going to get your question. I'm going to do the UNS, and then I'm going to answer your question on the UNS piece. One of the meetings for a digital transformation maturity assessment, one of those meetings is operations, okay? And when you go into any of the pillar meetings, any of the meetings with maintenance and engineering, operations, leadership, quality, IT, those are their 5 pillars. You're really trying to ascertain 3 things, okay? Number 1, what are you good at? As a group, what are you good at? Number 2, what are you bad at? And number 3, what's missing? And to answer the what's missing question, okay? To answer the what's missing question, the exercise that I go through is something like this, JC. I will ask everybody in the room, especially operators, what is one problem in your job you've been trying to solve for a day, a week, a month, a year, 10 years that you haven't been able to solve yet? And it doesn't have to be technology related. Any problem, okay? Tell me what problem in your job you haven't been able to solve yet? And then you use that. What you do is you take that problem and you use it to improve the organization. You solve that problem. And here's the best example, or a example. I did this with an oil and gas company. This is like 2015, 2016. Operators are in the room. In oil and gas, they call them lease operators. So real quick, for those who don't do oil and gas, I've told this story before, but I'll tell it again. In oil and gas production, okay, so the wells, okay, you have assets that are basically out in the middle of nowhere. I might be responsible for, as a lease operator, I'm responsible for, say, 40 production wells, 2 saltwater disposal locations, and 2 tank batteries. So the wells send all their oil, their fluid to tank batteries. The tank batteries, after post-processing, they send the trash to a saltwater disposal, basically the garbage fluid, okay? They might be responsible for 40 assets that cover something like, say, 300 square miles, and they're in the middle of nowhere, all right? And they have a route. They basically have a route where they hit their assets once every 3 days. So day 1, they'll do a third of those assets. They go on a certain path. Day 2, they'll go on a different path. Day 3, they'll go on a different path, and they'll hit all the assets. But each day starts with them going to locations that had like an emergency, say an alarm popped up or whatever. I got to go there first. Maybe it's shut in. Maybe the well's not producing, whatever. We had an operator in the room when I asked this question. The lease operator said, we have all this fancy technology. We can check the wells, once an hour to see if there's any problems over a cellular connection. If there's an alarm that goes off, I'll get a text message from this WIN 911 thing. He goes, the other week, this has been a problem the 20 years I've been doing this. The other week, I got a text message at 2:00 in the morning. And that text message said I had a high tank level in a tank battery in a location that was about 70 miles from where I was. And because the EPA will fine us, we have to go pump that tank down. So I got to call a pumper at 2:00 in the morning, and the pumper's got to drive out there, and the pumper has to pump down that tank so it doesn't overflow. And we have to pay a premium because he did it at 2 in the morning. We got to pay overtime. We got to pay, we got to pay a premium on the truck, the whole deal. He goes, the problem is the pumper got out there, and yeah, we technically at a high level, the switch tripped. He goes, but the fluid pumping into the tank was pumping in so slow that I could have waited 2 days to go pump that down. He goes, I don't need to know whether I got a high level. He goes, I need to know how much time I have left in the tank. He goes, for 20 years, we've just been sending alarms on high level. He goes, all high levels are not the same. He goes, I need to know how much time in tank I have. He goes, can you solve that problem? I said, you bet your ass I can, and I'll do it right now. And in 10 minutes, writing a simple function, because I knew the volume of the tank, I knew the inflow going into the tank, I knew the outflow going out of the tank. I also knew the position of the sensor. So at how many inches was the high level in the tank? I wrote a very simple function that converted all of those variables and constants into time in tank. And then we just put the alarm there. 10 minutes. Involving the operator on day one. Now, what do you get from that? Right? What do you get from that? Well, you get operator buy-in. You solve an immediate problem that they have, and you convince operators that this isn't the flavor of the month. So you got them excited, and you've created a situation where you can actually solve business problems. The smartest people in an organization are your operators. If you're watching this podcast, okay, if you're watching this podcast or listening to this podcast, and you do not believe that the smartest people in the organization are the people who do the actual work on the plant floor or out in the trucks or turning the wrenches, you do not belong here. Okay. I've been doing this a long time, and I am a very smart guy, and I'm very accomplished. I'm highly educated, and I am not the smartest person in an organization when it comes to what their problems are. Digital transformation is about enabling operators and mechanics and electricians and supervisors, the people who do the actual work, to identify problems and solve those problems. Back when I was an electrician, way at the very beginning of my career, our operators used to be really paranoid about say they screwed up. They made a mistake and they ran a piece of equipment into a wall or whatever, and they broke something. They were because of the chance that they could get written up or whatever, they would have an incentive to not tell me the truth. Or if it took me longer to fix something, they got a longer break, they had an incentive to not tell me everything they knew about the problem. So what I would do is when I started with a new crew, every time I started with a new crew, I would say, listen, I'm here to make your job easier. All I'm asking in return is don't make mine harder. So if you fuck up, tell me the truth. I will always cover for you. I will never, ever, ever rat you out as long as you tell me the truth. So I will never, if you made a mistake and you smashed something or whatever, and it caused $20,000 worth of damage or $100,000 worth of damage, I'll cover for you. Just tell me what happened so I can fix it. And number two, if you want that extra long break or whatever, let's say you want a 25-minute break, and you tell me how long of a break you want, and then tell me what it is and I'll write on my report it took 25 minutes. Right? Don't make it harder. What I learned was that operators knew everything. They fucking knew everything. They knew how to solve. They knew every problem in the business. The only difference is that leadership did a really bad job of unlocking that, because they didn't create an environment where it was in their best interest anymore to unlock it. Okay.